Okay, good morning, children. I'm going to be in the process here, checking and going over your quiz that you took yesterday. But today's lesson, we're going to continue and we're going to move on to lesson 4.4. There's a lot of information in here. Okay, lesson 4.4 is about finding the percent of a number. Okay, and there's two ways that we can do this. One of them we already talked about, and you were already taught that. If you remember the 10% rule. Okay, and we're going to go over that here in a minute. All right, the other way is finding it by using a decimal, which was back in chapter 3. I believe it was 3.2, lesson 3.2 and 3.3, multiplying a whole number by a decimal. Those are the two ways that we can find the percent of a number. Okay, along with that, after I show you some examples, we're going to talk about some terms that you're going to need to know whether to add or to subtract, or whether you pay, I should say, when it comes to the terms. Okay, and you'll see what I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. Okay, so let me first start with some examples. So number one, let's find, and this is what the problems are going to look like. Find 25% of 40. Okay, now I know maybe some of you can do this in your head at the moment. Okay, excuse me, I understand that. But they are, as you know, we always start off easy and they're going to increasingly get a little bit harder. Okay, but finding 25% of 40. If we use the 10% rule, right? If you recall, if we find 10% of 40, right? The decimal moves one place to the left, right? So 10% of 40 is going to give us 4. Okay, and again, if we double that to 10%, so that's going to give us 20% there. Okay, that's another 4. All right, but we need to get 25%. Okay, and again, if you remember in our lesson before, we talked, if we already know what 10% is, if we want to find 5%, we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, so if we take 4 and divide it by 2, that's going to give us 2. So now if we add everything up, we get 25% here, 10 plus 10 plus 5. If we add everything here, 4 plus 4 plus 10. So 25%, okay, of 40 is 10. All right, that's using the 10% rule. Okay, now there might be some questions, some directions. It's a possibility. Okay, you don't have to use the 10% rule. I think you're going to find out down the road it's going to come in a little bit handier. Okay, but if you're doing it by finding the decimal, right, this is just straight arithmetic. You can take 40 and multiply it by 25 hundredths, right? We get 0, we get 20, we get 0, we get 0, and we get 8. And if we do our math, we get 10, or we should say we get 1,000. Okay, we look back up in our factors. We have 2 decimal places to the right, and we have 0 here. So again, if you recall, we start over on the right, we move the decimal 2 places to the left, and that ultimately is our answer of 10 as well. Okay. Either way is acceptable. It doesn't matter. When I talk terms later in the lesson, I'm going to mainly be talking about percentages, though. Okay. Not using the decimal, because most of the things that we're going to talk about are related to decimals. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They're related to percentages. Okay. I should say maybe out in the real world, maybe. All right. Moving right along. Let's try number 2. Okay. So again, we might have something that says find 60% of 150. That's a possibility. Okay. Actually, this is, in my opinion, a little bit easier. So if we use the 10% rule, okay, so if we find 10% of 150, again, the decimal moves one place to the left, so that's going to be 15. And the nice part here is it's straight 60%. There's no 65, there's no 55. We don't have to find 5% of anything. Okay, so a bunch of you guys before said, well, how do we go from 10% to 60? We multiply it by 6, which is correct. We would get 60%. Once again, if we're multiplying that by 6, the percent, we're going to multiply our 10% number by 6, and that's going to give us 90. So 60% of 150 is 90. Okay, so again, if we do it the old decimal way, right? If we take 150 times 60%, which is just 6/10, right? 6 times 0 is 0. 30, carry the 30. We get 9. Okay, again, over here, we have 1 decimal place. We have none here. So we start all the way over to the right. We got to go 1 decimal place over to the left. We place the decimal in there, and we end up with the same answer of 90. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Again, in my opinion, I would try maybe to get in the habit of using the 10% rule. Okay, because this is what we use when we go shopping at department stores or grocery stores or whatever store that's having sales off. Okay, we kind of talked about that at the beginning of chapter 4, where generally people don't break out a calculator when they shop. Generally, okay, the stores kind of map things out so you can easily kind of do these in your head. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, a couple, I don't know what we want to call them, sentences, words that I just want to make you aware of. Okay, so if we use language that says, what's 100% of any number? Okay, 100%, right? That's all of it. That's everything. So that would be the number. Right? So if we said, what's 100% of 6? Your answer is going to be 6. Okay, number 2. What's 50% of any number? Okay, again, that would be half of the number. Right? So if we would say, what's 50% of 100, that would come out to be 50, because we would take that and we would divide by 2. That's half of the number. Okay, and the last one, number 3, if we would say, what's 150% of any number? Okay, we would say it's the number plus half of it. Okay, so let's see our example here. What's half of, let's see, what's 150% of 50? Okay, so that would be 50 would be 100%. And if we take half of that, that would be 25%. That would be our other 50%. So here our answer would be 75. Okay, those are going to be common phrases that you're going to need to understand. Okay, I think you do. All right, moving on. Okay, so here's what I was talking about earlier. I guess I'll phrase this. Let's talk terms. Now, I know math is about crunching numbers and knowing what to do mathematically, but excuse me, especially in this lesson, there is a lot of information, and it has to do with you understanding the words to it. To be quite honest. Okay, so let's start. Let's talk with something that we are familiar with. We talked about a tip, right? Right? We add that to restaurant bills. We might tip a waiter. We might tip somebody a service for doing something for us, right? So when we calculate a tip, this is something that you add to the bill, right? That's going to be a plus. Okay, remember that? Like, you remember we talked about 15 to 20% tipping a waiter or waitress at a restaurant. Okay, and that's going to be added on to whatever you purchased at the restaurant. Okay, number 2, something called a sales tax. Okay, so this is, and we talked about this, I believe, in Stark County, our sales tax is 6.5%, right? And I think our example, we kind of made this easy in class a week or two ago. We said, well, we're just going to make it 6% to make it easy. If you went into the store, a non-food item, and you bought something for $1, right? And again, you're going to have to pay $1.06 because you're going to add a tax that again is added on to the bill. Okay, that's something that you're adding on. Okay, number 3, something called a property tax. Okay, and we would go really in detail if we were in school in the classroom, coming up with examples, but and talk about property tax and who pays it and why and all that good stuff. Unfortunately, in this venue, we just don't have the time or the kind of space to do it in. I need you guys to communicate back with me to be able to really have a good discussion about all this. But anyways, property tax is something that your parents pay where you live in the United States. Okay. And for us in Jackson Township, there's a property tax, there's a cost to us for living in Jackson Township. Okay, so that again, that's something that you pay. Okay, again, that's an added cost. Okay, you add that on. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Number 4 is something called commission. Okay, and again, maybe mom and dad might be a realtor, and uncle might be a realtor. Okay, so this is a commission. This is something, commission could be going both ways, something that you could pay or something that you could get. But normally, if like a realtor, they get a commission for selling a house. Okay, so you as a seller are again going to add to, right? So let's say, here we go. Let's make this easy. Something is $100,000. They get a 10% commission. Okay, that means that they are going to make a commission of $10,000. Okay, that's what you're going to pay or they're going to make. Okay, so again, it's either whichever side you're on, you could be paying it or you could be getting that commission for doing a service. Okay, number 5, something called an income tax. Okay, this is for people that work, okay, in a city. Usually they have an income tax. And again, this is something that you pay. Okay, you pay out of your pocket. Again, this is something that's added on. Okay, whatever that might be. Sometimes cities have a 1%, 2% an income tax for working there, and they will tax you. The good news is this is generally a smaller amount of money, not a large sum of money. Okay, because everybody is paying the income tax. Okay, this one here I want to especially point out because this one you're going to see a lot. Okay, sales tax. Okay, this is also referred to as maybe the final price. You'll see that as well. Okay, so these two words, especially, and what should I do here? Let me highlight this, right? Okay, this is really, really important. Okay, because they are really going to use sales tax. Okay, and I summed it up. It's the price that you're going to pay at the register. That's after any sort of tip or sales tax or commission or property tax or anything. Okay, that is what you are going to pay. So, oops, sorry about that. So this is the price you are going to pay at the register. When you check out, that's what you're going to pay. Okay, so I'm just kind of making special note of here. This one's kind of the most important one. Okay, and the last one I just want to mention briefly, I don't even know if we'll see it. Okay, but something called a rebate. This is actually a good thing. Okay, you actually get money back. Oops, sorry about that. You get money back from a rebate. Okay, so kind of how this works is this is kind of like the reverse of the taxes. Okay, you have to pay for everything up front. Okay, meaning, let's say the item cost $200. Okay, so you have to spend all of that money up front. And they may say two ways to do this. They may say you get a $50 rebate, okay, or they might say you might get a 20% rebate, okay, which would be $40. Okay, either way, what they're going to do is you pay the $200 up front, and then you have to fill out a form. You might have to cut something off the original package, something like that, to mail back to the supplier or to the company who would, whoever made the item, and then they will send you. I think in today's world, they'll send you a preloaded credit card that you can use. In the old days, we used to get a check back, that we would go to the bank and cash. I think those days are over. So I think you all understand that now you get prepaid credit cards is now the new rebate. Okay, but that's actually something that you get back. They want you to pay the full price up front, and then they will send you money after you send them a few things. Okay, so that's really it for finding the percent of a number. It's very straightforward math. Okay, but again, I would really like for you, if you can, to work on the percents, because that's going to help you down the road. But if you want to do it the decimal way, that is fine as well. Okay, so if you have any questions or concerns or anything about lesson 4.4, finding a percent of a number, just email me and I'll get back to you and we'll figure out what we can do. Okay, all right. Hope you're all staying safe. Miss you guys. All right, take care.